I'm Richard Kye, a Tory resident, lived here for many decades now. I'm a member of Friends of St Fittick's Park, and we're campaigning to stop the beautiful St Fittick's Park being turned into an industrial estate. So the wetlands could be concreted over, and if St Fittick's is rezoned as an industrial site, then in theory, and probably in practice, the whole area could become an industrial estate.
My name is Susan Smith. When the proposed local development plan was developed, there was no meaningful consultation, no consultation at all during that process. Once the plan had come into the public domain, there was public consultation period, and there were a lot of objections. All those objections were ignored and swept away. So since then there is a master plan being developed by environmental planning consultant Arnside Farah. But there is no firm detail in the master plan still about what's happening in the park, and that actual master plan for the park is on hold till the reporter decides whether or not to uphold the rezoning or not. What are we trying to achieve? I know we are different from the other groups in that we're not doing any of the usual we're not having a project with actions that we're all getting involved with to actually do something, but what we're trying to do is to protect the green space, which we feel is sort of contributing towards trying to do something about climate change, to prevent the loss of green space that acts as a carbon sink. Some of us are thinking, a different group is thinking about buying the park, and we know that's a very, very big ask and the bar is very high. But that would then safeguard the park from development in the future, whatever the development is.
Hi, I'm Emma Liddell. I joined a group called Udney Climate Action about 6 months ago, and we decided that it would be a good idea to go and collect some tree seed locally and grow them on for planting in local projects. We hired a local tree expert to take us to Haddow Estate and show us the mature trees that were growing seed at that time, and he showed us how to collect them and gave us a little bit of information about how we should plant them, and we ended up with these ones that you can see here. And it was a real learning process, learning how seeds develop and what you have to do with them to make them grow the best they can. I mean, I didn't know, for example, there were 2 different types of oak tree, and he showed us how to tell the difference between the 2. One of them grows quite tall and straight, and the other one sort of is a little bit more lower and sort of more spread out. During the winter you have to put them in sort of quite gravelly soil to allow them to what's called stratify, and the seeds need to be cold over the winter, and then they germinate usually in the spring. But the oak trees actually send down a root during the winter, and then they start shooting in the spring. So these are the oak trees here. This is a common oak, and then we've got crabapple, silver birch, rowan, a nice tree called a wild service tree. We've got an elder and a hazel. We've got some field maples as well, and some Scots pines. Some of the seeds take longer than 1 winter to stratify, so the rest are just being saved in pots until hopefully next spring they might start growing. I mean, I think planting trees is a really easy thing to do. Just go out in the autumn and find what you think looks like a seed and put it in the soil and see what happens. I mean, it's great fun, and it'd be brilliant to do with your kids. And what a legacy. You could end up planting a tree that might last a couple of 100 years and support all the wildlife and everything that goes along with it. People can get involved by looking out on Facebook for our posts, usually through the UCA, for our tree seed collections in the autumn, and the schools can get involved by planting the seeds and potting on the little seedlings, and then there'll be projects where we're actually planting the trees out into their final planting places as well, so they hopefully we'll be getting people involved at all of these different stages.
I'm Kate Pangborn. Our group name is Action for Climate and Environment Newborough. We had lots of Zoom meetings during lockdown, as I'm sure lots of people did, out of which all of our ideas came to the surface, and as part of that we wanted to be doing something practical that the community in the village could see and join in, and that's where the tree planting came from. Well, this site is just one sort of visible output from what we've been doing, and we have future plans as well. We are about to launch a slightly bigger community consultation. We're only a small group, there's a limit to how much we can do it all at one time, so we need the community's help to tell us what they would like us to focus on, and so where we can have the biggest impact in the short term.
So my name is Morag Leeper. I've been involved with Deeside Can. We've got about 30 to 36 volunteers. What the volunteers do is they go around 3 evenings a week at the moment and collect the surplus from the local supermarkets, bring it here to number 1. It gets put away in the fridge and on the shelves, and in the following morning it's shared out with the public. And the purpose of it is to reduce waste. On one hand, we're looking at food waste, and we're looking at creating a couple of programs to do with how to use things like cauliflower leaves, how to cook your whole foods. We're also looking at doing workshops around preserving food. So we have more people coming and making use of the surplus that's here. Very much it's not about poverty or food consciousness, it's about reducing the waste that goes to landfill sites. I was talking with a group of the volunteers a few weeks ago and saying, well, you know, let's do a skill share. That's one of the things that we want to do, is a skill share of how do we reduce waste. So what we decided to do was to do a skill share of making bunting, because it covers basics of how to thread a sewing machine, how to sew by hand if you prefer, and although bunting is relatively simple, you can do it so it's two-sided. There's a whole wealth of skills within that. Doing something that's good and useful and helpful in terms of the environment and reducing surplus. It's the social aspect, it's that building community which is having a really big impact.
We've got 300 trees here ready for the Bankery Wee Forest project. So the idea is we'll get these trees, and hopefully this autumn 22, we'll plant them in the Belfield Park, and we're going to get probably maybe a couple of hundred more, so we'll have 500 trees. We'll need lots of people to come and help to plant the trees, and so we get people involved planting the trees, and we'll need to fence them in so that they're safe from deer and wherever else might be roaming around the park.
Hi, I'm Richard Oren. I'm one of the members of Deeside Climate Action Network, and here is our area where our wee forest will be growing. An agreed location for it after discussion with other stakeholders, including the Bankery Show, the Flyball Club and others who use this part of the park. This is the bit of the area which is the least useful to others but really useful for us. It will be a kidney-shaped area of trees with a seat in the focus looking south, and these trees will grow quickly and capture carbon, will provide a very biodiverse habitat for insects, bird life, etc. It will take us a few years to make it look like a forest, but we want to get started, and now we have an agreed location. We're just waiting for the wheels to turn in the council to get us the legal permission to plant in the autumn. We're excited to get it going.